Hello, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to the GameUp Africa November Meetup. This is the last meetup of the year, and this is a platform for us to bring together game developers, artists, game enthusiasts, and hobbies all across the continent to learn from experts in the industry about games, about the local ecosystem, and to have a good understanding of the local landscape. So let us have a look at what is in store for us today. My name is Dorothy Orina, and I'll be taking you through this session. On our lineup today, we have Peter Achimugu, who is a game developer at Maliyo Games and will be speaking on automation. How do you automate the processes and streamline the workflows in your game so that your team and your project works smoothly? Then after Peter, we're going to have Standley, who is a 2D artist also working at Maliyo Games, and she's been developing the cutscenes. So if you played the game, you've had a chance to look at the art and the story and how the narrative is being depicted. So Charisma will be showcasing her development process for creating those cutscenes. All right, have fun. I'm going to welcome the speakers. But before then, have you registered for MaliyoCon? This December, we're having this exciting event where we'll be welcoming game experts from across the globe in Nigeria for Africa's first mobile-focused games industry event. It will be taking place on the 11th of December, which is a Thursday. It's a full-day event, and tickets can be bought at maliyo.com/conference. That is MaliyoCon, or just search for MaliyoCon and get a free ticket to attend the event. We'll be having speakers from across the world, and our keynote speaker is Matthias, who's actually the founder of Cybo. If you've played Subway Surfer, then these are some of the speakers that you will be expecting. We'll also be having people from Endless and Maliyo Games, plus other speakers that you can also continue to check and see the agenda on the MaliyoCon website. So without much further ado, I'm going to welcome our first speaker of the day, who is Peter Achimugu. And Peter is a game developer at Maliyo Games, as I had said earlier. He's specializing in clean, functional mobile game development for both Android and iOS using Unity 3D. His technical foundation has been built as a former Nigerian Olympiad in informatics champion who competed internationally and taught competitive programming to the national team in Nigeria. Peter excels in developing robust game systems, crushing bugs, and engineering efficient gameplay features in titles like Safari City. He's also worked on the Disney Iwaju Rising Chef. Outside the world of code, he plays story-based strategy games, diving deep into movie franchises and anime. Above all, he loves exploring the galaxy far, far away as an immense Star Wars connoisseur. So welcome, and thanks for joining us today. Hi, Peter.
What is it? Hi, thank you.
There's a bit of background noise. We can't hear you clearly. Hi, Peter, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me? Is it better now?
Yes, much better.
All right.
You can share your screen now.
Yeah, can you guys see my screen? Can you see?
Yeah, we can see your screen now. All right, go
Right.
ahead.
Yeah. So, like Dorothy already mentioned, my name is Peter. I'm from Achimugu. I'll be giving you from Maliyo. And today we'll be talking about automation in game development and how we are applying that to in the production of Safari City. So yeah, so let's start off with the meaning of automation. So that's it's just basically the use of tools, can be scripts to build systems that help you reduce the need to perform manual tasks. And it applies to areas like coding, testing, creating assets, and deployment, essentially. So the core goals for automation is to improve efficiency. So the more systems are handled by say automated scripts, it reduces the presence of human error, and it also ensures consistency, considering that everything is just handled by a set of instructions that has already been pre-programmed. Then also for scalability, say you want to scale up during production, you can start with a small system, and once you are able to automate most of the manual processes, you can easily scale up, increase the use case, the test cases also, and all that. And then yeah, you can see here we have why isn't this playing? So if you are familiar with the show, Sean, with the movie Shaun the Sheep, yeah. So Sean is my go-to person when I think of automation. So he's a sheep and very was he's most people think he's lazy, but no, he's more focused on making every single process he's trying to execute as seamless as possible. So basically, creating systems that help them get so much work done we under a short amount of time, and also needing as less people as possible. So they will move on. So the reasons why we automate processes in game development are quite simple. So for speed, so essentially you can iterate through processes much faster. Say you have um, you have a series of game objects, like using this as an example, you have a series of game objects where there are script components attached to it with certain variables that are set that can be set manually. But then if you automate set process and you you try a series of values and you find out that they aren't working, and then you have to go through again to tweak those values. If you had an automated system in place, you can just easily um, run another iteration to see what works best, and then that's basically like faster than going through everything every single time you want to make a change. Then for consistency, yes, s- so the the greater a system, sorry, the larger a system it grows, the more difficult it gets to handle by because of like common human error. So having an automated system in place will basically ensure consistency. And then next over, we have scalability, which is very obvious. Like, so if you have if you have a an automatic system that handles a process, say maybe creating scriptable objects automatically and populating the attributes of said scriptable objects, you can you can duplicate that, and it's the system is feasible as as much as you grow, um as for as many scriptable objects you need to create, that system can handle that. So it allows you to scale up quite easily and really fast. Then for cost efficiency, it saves time and resources because you don't have to spend so much time working on iterations to see what works. You can easily just iterate automatically because you have the necessary systems in place. And yeah, I'll be handling some use cases later on where then some of the areas where automation thrives and is needed, it's when you are making builds. So instead of having to make builds manually, you can just automate that. And when you are done with all your updates, you can like run the process and get all your builds out. Then also for testing, so you need testing, regression, and your your integrated testing. So basically, testing systems in testing individual systems and testing how they work together when integrated, and also when you make updates to say systems, you can easily just automate the process of regression testing to test all the system to make sure the new updates you made to them hasn't like introduced any new bugs. Then for asset management, like I mentioned, creating assets, naming assets, renaming assets, basically whatever process you can make to assets. Also updating the assets too, essentially. All that can be handled automatically instead of having to create the assets manually. Then also level generation, so PCGs, procedural content generation. You can have systems or editor scripts that or or scripts rather that handles level generation automatically, so you don't have to do all that manually. And yeah, these are just a few of the areas where automation works really well. And then we'll be moving on to some of the applications of automation in Safari City. Yeah, one of the major applications is for the dialogues, the tags, and the collection. So yeah, you can for the screen you can see for the collections you have your characters, you have tokens, boosters, and power-ups you can play the game. This will be this, these terms will be quite familiar. So yeah, the characters are seen when you play through the game and you see when you perform tasks and then the dialogue pops up, you see characters. So the characters are collected and stored, and each character has their attributes. So you can see here, you see description, their hobbies, likes, dislike, occupations, and all that here basically. Then for the tags, these are the tags that accompany the current building you are working on, and also yeah, the dialogue that accompany that comes before and after or during um, tasks that you perform on building. And yeah, all this data can be or is quite a lot at the moment. Yeah. So how we are handling that is we are using we we store all that on the spreadsheet where we make frequent updates to. So okay, if we are having a new episode in, okay, what are the new characters coming in? The dialogues to the new dialogues, they are all entered on a certain spreadsheet. And when all that data is up to date, we can just easily pull them into the game. And yeah, so that's how we're using automation on this end. So we already worked on a script that basically pulls all that data and creates the necessary scriptable objects because yeah, we're storing data in scriptable objects. So we create the script, handles the creation of the scriptable objects, names them wherever necessary, and then populates the data of the attributes of said scriptable objects. And then that way, yes, it's way more cleaner, and it saves us much so much time as opposed to what we had initially when we started working on like the prototype and stuff where we had to go through all these scriptable objects and then like populate the data manually. Okay, you have the dialogue, and you say, okay, we can at this point say make them slick and secure. Safari doesn't need old tricks again. You just copy that, then paste it. Then okay, this character is is going to show up at this point of the dialogue. Okay, we have to represent that information. Then we carry the character and people know, but the system eliminated the need for all that. So all we just do is just with the click of a button, all that data is populated and the necessary scriptable objects are created. Yeah. Then moving on, the mastery levels. Your creating mastery levels is another place we employ the use of automation. So the mastery levels are not entirely created manually. So yeah, we have control over what the levels look like, and then we just have we have a system built where we can put in the necessary variables attached to the level. So like your target, what's what the rules are going to be, if you need moves, if you need time, if it's a timed level, um, how much time you have, how many moves you have, the targets for the level, and the system also gives us that control over what it looks like, so we can basically place pieces that we want to always show up. Control We can also control what how frequently some pieces should show up and all that. But yeah, basically everything is the system is already there, so it's basically automated, and then all we just do is specify all these necessary variables, and then we can and just say hit a button, and voila, we have our level already set. Yeah. Um. Then finally, uh, yeah, yeah. So yeah. Finally, we have the final thoughts. Okay, generally automation is very nice, but general advice is not everything has to be automated. So basically, all you have to do is start with your pain points. So what are the things you are doing currently that you feel it doesn't require creative energy, or is just plainly stressful, and then leaving you with less free time to work on what really matters. So yeah, that's where that's genuinely where you can start from. And then the general best practices are like starting small. So um, if the yeah, it's just yeah, that's actually how.
Hi, Peter. We can't hear you anymore. We lost your audio. Hi, Peter. Can you hear me? Oh, you're on mute now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can
I,
hear your
I
audio
can't hear
now.
them. Dorothy, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, you guys can hear me. All right. Yeah. So, like, I was talking about the best practices. So you start small. Um, that way, testing is way easier when you are building these automated systems. Say if you are writing a script or an editor script to handle a certain process. So you start small, then scale up from there. Then also try to document the process as you go out, as you go on, basically. So that will help when you are referring back to make changes or to understand, or you get or if a new team member is being assigned to handle those system or that aspect of the game, they can easily just be they can easily catch up to speed. Yeah, basically. Then also to review and refine the systems regularly. So if you have basically when you're working on games, everything is changing rapidly. So you need to just keep looking at all the systems you have built, all the automated systems you have built, and just make sure they are functioning as you want them to at each point in time, essentially. Then always try to involve your team in your strategy. So basically, just um, keep them updated each time you are working on on all those automated systems, so that everyone is on the same page essentially. And then some of the challenges are currently over automation. So like I mentioned, to avoid the need to avoid manual work can make you try to go above and beyond to make certain things work. But yeah, in most cases, when when handling when working with automation, it doesn't necessarily mean you are eliminating manual work. It just basically means you are reducing the need for excessive manual work. And another challenge is maintenance. So trying to keep the systems updated as the project evolves, it can be really tough depending on the direction the project is going and how the system and how the project was when the system was created. And then also the learning curve when it comes to team members or new team members hopping on the project, trying to to get them updated on how the system works. So that learning curve is also a common challenge. Then yeah, to compatibility also. So you need to make sure the tools you are working with are compatible with whatever game engine you are you are working, you are building the project on essentially, and then that it's uh, how that can also be a challenge is over time the tool if the tool requires updates, and yeah, that's if the updates are available that are still compatible, and that's like an upside. But in some cases, some of these tools are discarded, and then you have to start looking for a replacement or or a or a way essentially to to find something that works since what you were using originally is no longer compatible. So yeah, these are some of the common challenges that you can face with automation in game development. And yeah, that takes me to the end of my presentation. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Hi, Peter. Thanks for the presentation on game dev automation. Do we have any questions? You can type as a comment, and then we'll read it out to Peter. But Peter, as you wait for the questions, you said that not everything has to be automated, right? And then you continue to say how it can be a challenge if you over automate. So,
I,
is there like a
I
checklist you
can't
use?
hear you clearly. Is it? I can't hear you clearly. Your voice is really noisy.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I think I heard that now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can.
All right. All right, great. I'm asking, you mentioned twice how over automation can be a challenge and that not everything can be automated or should be automated, right? So is there a checklist that you use personally to identify things that need to be automated? So how do you pinpoint the things that definitely need automation so that you can get started with them?
All right. Yeah. So identifying what should be, what can be and should be automated. It basically any task that is repetitive. So basically just doing the same thing over and over again. No, no difference. So essentially, processes like that can and in most cases they can and they should be automated. But yeah, certain there are certain processes that the processes that shouldn't be are processes that okay, as in as much as they are repetitive, they need a certain level of creativity, or they are not always the outcome is not always the same, essentially, or the setup is not always the same. So it basically is repetitive, but there is a clear disparity. So those kind of situations, yeah, automation will be um, very difficult and not advisable.
All right, awesome, thanks. Do we have any other questions for Peter? Anyone else with a question? Okay, great. If none, I think we can move on to the next phase of the meetup. Thank you so much, Peter, for your time and for the lovely presentation on automation.
All right, thank you.
All right. So our next speaker today is Charisma. And let me just find the right page. All right, here we go. So Charisma is a 2D artist who is currently working as on the cutscenes that are in the Safari City game. So the narratives that you see and how they're played out, she works on the art for that. She spent some years working as a character designer for animation, children's book illustration, and comic book artist. So this was her first experience working in gaming in Safari City, and it has majorly involved working on 2D assets and marketing materials for the game. Welcome, Charisma. Charisma, are you there? We
Yes, I
can't
am.
hear
Can
you.
you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. We can see you.
Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you now. Perfect. You can share your screen.
All right. Okay. Okay. Okay, can you see my screen?
I can see it. Let me just put it on stage now. Yes, there we go.
Okay. So I know this is the first one. All right. Okay, thank you so much, Dorothy. Good afternoon. Sorry, I have to use Peter's setup because mine couldn't connect. So my name is Charisma Stanley, and I'll be speaking on Safari City's art and story. Um, okay, so my name is Charisma. Like I said, I am a digital artist. I've been one for 6 years, finding my foot in animation, and I'm currently a 2D artist at Maliyo here. And everything here below is just few of things. Yeah, I mean, random stuff about me. So yes, I shall go to the next slide. Okay, so about Safari City cutscenes, they are non-interactive sequences that tell a story. Um, when you take a break from the gameplay, so they are not part of the gameplay. They are not part of the core gameplay in the game, and um, they basically move the plot along. Or they move the narrative along. So it's basically for story. I believe we've seen cutscenes in maybe other games I would play, like Angry Birds. Maybe they show the reason why the birds are angry at the beginning um, of playing the game. You see a quick cutscene and they're just showing you, oh, the pig stole egg. So it's basically what the cutscenes are for at in a Safari City. And the main components in cutscenes are um, panels, which are like made up of backgrounds and characters, word cues and emoticons. So it's like they're basically taking the form of like comics, like your the usual cutscenes. And so basically the tools I use are Photoshop for creating the cutscenes, like drawing the cutscenes, the panels, characters, everything, and then I do the animation in Unity. So, talking about making the cutscenes. So this is where it begins. It begins with the script. So I don't just make up a story. There's a writer on a team that writes the narrative for the game. She writes the dialogues and basically um, almost everything, I guess. And so she also writes the script for the cutscenes. And yeah, so it begins at the script, and when she's done with it, she sends it over to me, and I read through it. So after reading through the scripts, we basically have to go together. So I speak with her or we meet and she runs me through what's happening like in the scene, though she um des describes like well what's happening, but just to get a clearer picture, a clearer understanding of what's going on with the characters and their motives and intentions. So we go over the script together, and when I'm clear on everything, I go to the next phase, which is sketching. So basically, the goal of the cutscenes is to, like I said, to tell the story, to move the narrative along. So much detail really isn't needed. We try to do things here as fast as possible. So things are as simplified as possible. Big shapes, things that are not needed to communicate the what's happening in the scene. We don't need to put it in there. So I start sketching out panels, and most of the panels I start with are establishing shots. Like right over here, we see an establishing shot of the newly renovated building for episode 4. So this building is the building for um, after episode, yeah, it's after episode 4. So it is newly renovated. So we see the sketch of it. And so this establishing shot just shows you this is where, this particular scene is happening in this first frame. And so that's how the sketches go along. And so I also add values. Values are like, black and white. So you just get a feel of if the scene is, the lighting in the scene or a rough idea of the mood in the scene. And so also the cutscenes, like I said, we try to make it as quick as possible because we don't want to take the player's time. So one cutscene is average 6 frames or 6 scenes with about 2, 3, 4 panels um, for each scene. And then after sketching, we go to proofreading. So basically, it's I go over the script together with our, our product, our team leader, project leader. And so we go over it and he reviews it and he um, tries to understand what is happening in the scene. And if what I've sketched out is not telling or is not expressing or communicating clearly what is happening in the scene or what's happening in the scripts, we have to go back to the drawing board. So right here, we are happy if everything goes as planned, and we are not happy if it doesn't. So this is just a dramatic scene what probably go on in our heads. But yeah, we don't actually do this. We just go ahead and we sketch everything. So after we sketch, after I sketch the make sketches again to suit the feedback I've gotten from our team lead, then I go ahead to paint in the background. So if you can see from the previous scene, this was the rough sketch we made for episode 4, and this is like a clear view of one of the panels. That's for scene 3 or frame 3. So painting the backgrounds, I try not to waste time. I try to be as fast as possible. So you don't see any lines, you don't see any like details. I try to block out the shapes and make it readable. So I don't try to be all decorative or putting unnecessary details into the scene. So if I'm going to draw a chair, I have to just use the most simple method I can, um, you know, make use of, or the simplest visuals to communicate that, okay, this is a chair, this is nice, they're indoors, this is the glass. So I don't, it's just all simplified so that time will not be wasted. I hope you can still hear me though. Am I clear enough? Can anyone hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, I don't know if I'm
No, we can
getting.
hear you clearly.
Okay, you can hear me. Okay, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's what I do. Painting the backgrounds. The another goal of while painting the backgrounds is also trying to get the mood for the scene. So trying to get the lighting right, trying to get the atmosphere. If it's a dark scene, a daylight scene, like to just make it clear. So not too much drama. And then the next is color correction. So I pass the backgrounds through to our arts lead. So she takes a look at them and puts them on the board, and well, she makes other corrections, but most of the time it's color correction. So if the scene is too dark, or if it's too gloomy, if it's not aesthetically pleasing enough, she makes corrections to that. So basically, we do this by placing, if it's a new scene, like a new episode, we try and place the scene that we are doing, like placing this side by side with the former or previous scenes that we've done, so it would be uniform. So we try to get the colors right that way, and also try to preserve contrast even while color correcting. Um, so yeah, this is the before and this is the after. So the scene looks brighter, well lit, and we do this before putting in the character so that we don't have to, color correct a lot of layers before we find out that we are not getting the mood right. And then the next is adding the characters. So this is from the previous slide. This is the same scene. Um, So the characters are a little bit more detailed than the backgrounds, because we try to get their pose right, their expressions. So if they are angry, or they are relaxed, or they are distinguished, or they're feeling contempt, we try to get that in the characters as much as possible, because the players are only going to see them for some seconds, a few seconds. So um, I try to draw them as close as possible to the way they're described in the scene, and the way the writer has written these characters to come off to the players. Uh, this this panel is still loading, but yeah, so that's the next step. I add the characters to the scenes, and just to take note, while drawing these backgrounds, I do not put all of them on the same layer. So I try to break down the layers of the different items or components in the drawing. So like this background, where you just see a silhouette of the city line, and then water, and then this other building right here. They're all like in the background. So I still separated them, but they're all in the background. And then we have the mid-ground, what's happening in the mid-ground scene, where we have this balcony, um, the center table, the chairs, all of those are separated as well. In fact, the table right here is also separated from the couch, because I have this idea from the sketch that there's going to be a character that will be sitting on this chair, and she would also be behind this table. So this chair is separated from this table. They're on different layers on Photoshop. So while drawing characters or drawing backgrounds, I put that in mind. This here, this light here in the foreground is also separated on different layer. So when I add the characters, this is how it's going to look like. So since the components were separated, we can see that the character sitting on the couch is on top of the couch, but she's also behind the table, which shows that the layers were separated, which makes the work easier for me. And then the next phase is comical additions. Okay, there was supposed to be an image here, but I guess it didn't really load. So I add, if you remember from the first or second slide, on one component of the Safari cutscenes is emoticons and comical words or word cues. So here we have a word cue, like we have this character Kofi thinking, so he's like makes this sound. So we or I don't know what I'm saying. I added this here. Well, it's a whole teamwork and everybody's involved one way or another. So I added this here as a word cue to add more like I say, to communicate to the player better what is going on with this character, and then to show that these two are investigating or they're searching for something. This is like a magnifying glass emoticon that was added. I believe there are other scenes as well, but I didn't include them in the slide. But there are many other scenes that have like emojis and angry emojis, smiling emojis, and that shows. I believe if we go back to one of the scenes, we can see. Let me see. Oh yes, so we can see more emoticons here. I think this should have been a better frame to use. We can see this fire emoticon here. We can see the laughing emoticon here. So especially if you can't see the expression or want to exaggerate the expression of a character. So if the character's face can't be seen because of the way the scene is being drawn, or we cannot afford to an extra frame to show what the character is thinking or the expression or the reaction of the character, we use an emoticon. So like if you can see just the back of the head of a character, we try to add an emoticon to show this is what the character is actually experiencing or their reaction or how they look like at the moment. So we don't have to, show the player an extra frame and waste their time. And yeah, so from then when we are done with adding the characters and adding the last final additions, the emoticons and everything, I go into the animation process. So the first thing I do is to export the PNG files. So like I said before, every drawing is on a different layer. Every drawing is separated on different layers because we have the mind that we are going to animate them. So even the way I draw them, or from the concept or from the sketching phase, I keep in mind the things that I would want to animate that would make the scene more interesting. So by the time I get to drawing the characters or drawing backgrounds, most of the characters, I have to separate them on or in distinct layers so that when it's time to export them, it would be easy to do that. So I happily type away on my keyboard, on my mouse, exporting the PNGs, no stress at all. I import them to Unity, no stress at all. And then the animating begins, a lot of stress. So yeah, I started animating not long ago, and this was me when I started animating in Unity. It was really hard to understand the software, and it was like the hardest software I've ever encountered. Um, most softwares I use are pretty much straightforward and are used for specific things and not like complicated things like game development. So yeah, this is me like months ago when I started learning animation on Unity. So yeah, it was another company laptop. So so I basically import the panels into Unity and start animating them. And let me pause this first. This is a video of the same episode 4 that has been animated. So I'm just going to show you how the panels move. Basically straightforward animation. I believe I should have added a slide that shows the timeline. So I basically use the timeline to do the animation, and so I um, insert keyframes of like before and after. So where I want this panel to be at the beginning of the scene and where I want them to be at the end of the scene. And so I put those two keyframes, and then Unity just fills up the in-betweens and gets the panel there. So you see that in movements. So yeah, so this shows the episode 4 in animated, and this is me basically right now. It's not, well, it maybe is a little bit fun, but I'm still like very skeptical, and Unity is still sus to me because anything can just go wrong, but I can just forget to do anything, everything just scatters, and I'm always watching out for, you know, something going wrong. But here, let me play this for us to see the episode 4 cutscene get animated. So there's sound, but I don't know if we can hear that sound though. There was sound added to the cutscene. Okay, so that is the end. So yeah, that's basically the process of. So this here just goes straight into the game, and we get to see it on our devices when a build is being pushed to be downloaded by the public. So you see this cutscenes, you see cutscene episode 4 after you finish renovating the episode 4 building, and that is basically the process of doing the Safari City cutscenes. That is all. Does anybody have any questions?
Awesome presentation, Charisma. I really like the illustrations you used on your slides. Really paints the picture.
Thank you.
We have a question from Shauna. What is your turnaround time to submit one scene?
Sorry, come again.
What is your turnaround time to submit one scene?
Also submit one scene. Like one scene, like one frame. So I basically work on everything together. So like I spend roughly a day to sketch the 6 scenes in one episode. And because I have to sit down, I have to come up with different concepts with different angles, where the camera would face, whether how the viewer would look at the characters to make, to communicate what we're trying to send across. So if there's like a really tall building that seems very intimidating, we need to face the camera like on a low angle so that the building will look very tall. So all of that, sketching of the concepts for all 6 scenes in one episode takes about a whole day. Um, then painting the backgrounds basically takes another day because I'm not really conceptualizing. I'm just, blocking out everything I've sketched. So that takes for the 6 scenes. The blocking out the backgrounds takes another day. I think the characters is what takes more time, so like 2 days if they are like a lot of characters, and then we have like head to toe of the characters showing. If there are more characters, like maybe there's a party going on, it probably will take 3 days to finish all the characters and shade and add highlights. Yeah, so I guess let's say average of 4 days to complete one episode. That's aside for animation though. Yeah.
All right. Do we have any other questions? Okay, as we wait for that, you previously worked in comics and children's book illustrations. So how does that compare to transitioning to game?
Um, I think it's the same in a way. Um, they're basically all tools, or they are basically mediums to tell a story. I think the difference would be the genre of the story. So, like, basically for children's books, we have like um, different things happening. There's a different story. There's a different audience we're trying to reach. For comics, we have like action-packed things. So they are more word cues. They are more um, dynamic panels. But for this um, game, Sparse is like special in its own way because it's more mysterious. It's more like calm. There's something going on underneath and nobody knows about. It's secretive, and so it's not loud. And so yeah, it's also requires a lot of speed, and a part of me thinks that it could be better, but because of the time that we don't really have that much time, so I have to create the things as fast as possible. And also there is this break that happens. So like I don't know if the how many players go through the dialogue in the game. So going through a dialogue in the game would help you transition better into the cutscenes to understand what is going on. So but yeah, for me those are the differences that I would say there are. But aesthetically, maybe not much of a difference. The drawing style maybe changed a bit. It depends on what the clients want. So like before for comics and uh, children's books, the client has a particular style. Maybe they want you to give to them, and there are different timelines. So there's a particular time you have to deliver. So maybe you could afford adding details and doing different checks. But here we are like running with the speed of light. So it's we have to do the best we can to just communicate exactly what's going on the scene. So there's no time for any drama or Easter eggs. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay. Thanks for the answer. We don't seem to have any other questions. So thank you so much, Charisma, for joining us today and also for sharing your workflow for creating art.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so as we come to the end of the session, just a reminder again, if you haven't registered for MaliyoCon, please do. The tickets are available under MaliyoCon. So if you just search for MaliyoCon online or you go to maliyo.com/conference, you'll be able to get a ticket and we will confirm your attendance if you'll be attending. So this will take place on the 11th of December. 2025. It will be on a Thursday, and we'll be welcoming different game experts from across the world joining us in person in Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria, for a showcase of the African game development ecosystem. It's an event you don't want to miss. So we have 2 weeks out. Go to the website and grab your ticket early so that you can also get the confirmation early. Thanks again for joining us. This will be the end of our meetup today, and it's also the last meetup of the year. So we'll be seeing you again next year in February. Enjoy the holidays and Merry Christmas. See you in the new year. Bye, everyone.